So between 2012 all the way up to 2018, the end of the year, November 27th, when I officially resigned from teaching in Chicago public schools. This is Ivy. She's extremely pivotal in helping me explain how I got through chronic pain.
Kitty massage. Kitty massage. Start with the feetsies.
Part of it is because she sleeps on my head, neck, shoulders, face, and hair. And for over 2 years, I couldn't have her in the bedroom at all. She wasn't exactly happy about that. She really tried her best to get me to open up that door. In fact, she found a way, extremely adorable, so she could meow throughout my bedroom. But I stayed resilient, the doorknob, so that purring on my bed, so that is enough to cause ripples of chronic pain.
Kitty massage.
So she's always been a little bit of a way to progress monitor my injury. Now she can sleep wherever she wants. And that's how I know, sometimes the only way that I know that I've gotten better. This injury comes in flashes of light, moments of intense acute pain, and memories that flood my system. Because in 2015, I was diagnosed with PTSD after being stabbed in front of a teacher, a parent, and the security guard.
He did nothing. In that moment, he re-triggered all the memories of us in the morning talking, mostly him about his children and how he really wants the best for them. And we were talking for 10, 15, 20 minutes, waiting for a student to show up to school because it was well known that parents can do whatever they want in this building. An IEP is not supposed to allow parents to do whatever they want. So we never wrote that in the IEP because it's not appropriate. The student would miss 10, 15, 20 minutes of morning work, and now he is very different and missing that academic one-on-one direct instruction with the teacher. So now we have the teacher and the parent at odds, and the paraprofessional who's taking the child to go make copies or leave the gymnasium on her phone more than with the student. And I'm just the special educator. My job is to bridge everyone together and collaborate. That's why I wrote to the new administration when he asked for collaboration logs. You won't see any from me, and here's why. You show up to a collaboration meeting, it's mostly gossip about the kids. They don't want to work together. It's when they have a behavioral issue and they want that child out of the room. That's what I found to be my experience. Appropriate.
So this is a new administration, and he responds with an email stating that things will definitely be changing around this school. And then he showed up in the meetings with the teachers, and at the very end, he'd always talk about how we have to ensure that kids with special needs are included as well. Really great manager speak. Now we have an actual issue where a student is struggling and self-harming and harming others. And let's see if his words match his actions. Let's call this behavior a baseline, so we know principal does email back within 2 to 3 days. So that's nice to know. That way, when his behavior is different, we want to understand the environment around him that's creating this change of behavior. And after that moment, the fear of getting stabbed again was constant. That punched, kicked, threatened, things thrown at my face. What I have the most trouble be the adults, the administration, and the abuse of power in the community. It's a comedy. And that never dawned has for that they turn their backs of my entire career, because I worked at the same school, kids with special needs, that wanted grading to be easier. Except that's how society works. All of the resources. A public school, and I say public because private schools don't have to teach kids with special needs. A public school is like a mini society. It really does show that Chicago would protect the kids with special needs, and how far the union would go to protect the principal and do everything they could to basically diminish their role, because they're just lazy ass fuckers. I asked for safety protocols to be looked into, and there to be some documentation to let me let this go, knowing that the principal would never ever make that choice again, and that no principal would ever think it would be okay to deny kids with special needs the primary grade kids, kindergarten, first, second, third.
This bank and told us to guard him well. Quite clever investor, and after several
one of the 7 a.m. departments on gate code at 6.
Hey man, what are you reporting?
this girl into a tiny shop.
The administrative party is the Wolverine train 350 at 7:20. Once you start with that train, gates will be closing at 7:15 a.m. All gate closes 5 minutes prior to departure. Thank you.
Oh my god. Too funny. Everywhere.
Instagram, as I did my technology, things started popping up. So thank you for sharing that. And now I can comfortably sit with all these facts. I'm pretty sure
They must have everything equal to their peers in individualized education because they're different. Quite frankly, they're the best. They're going to be going through hardship, social, emotional, cognitive, academic, physical, the rest of their lives. So my job is to give them those foundation skills. That's reading.
Massage. Start with the feetsies.
Foundation skills. That's reading, writing, expression of self, math, science, communication, transitions, and a way to always socially, emotionally stay true. What I trust and believe in. That we're all here for a purpose, and it's always to help those that feel most worthless. Today is month 1, week 1. I have a very hard time keeping track of time. Not just because we're all indoors, not participating in social events, or keeping track of time through our daily jobs, because I was concussed in 2013. So, if I want to count backwards, 7 years is a long time to recover. But it could have gone faster with the right team of lawyers, specialists, doctors, friends, and my ex-husband who decided he didn't want to take care of a disabled. So I'm not disabled, just had a couple injuries, and now I'm ready to talk about it. Kitty Massage tells me that we are safely ahead of tactile and touch.
Hey, Neptune. That's my cat.
They come up with this number of 6 feet. I think they just pulled it out of their rear end.
Ask people to say at least 6 feet apart. And you may say, why 6 feet apart? A lot of scientific evidence with respiratory diseases is that's how far your droplets can go.
Make sure you're staying away from crowded places like movie theaters and concerts.
You can actually socially distance yourself from your workplace by doing teleworking. You can socially distance yourself from people in social settings by not going to bars, not going to restaurants where there are a lot of people. It all just means physical separation so that you have a space between you and others who might actually be infected or infect you.
What does the state say restaurants need to do in order to keep their customers safe?
Well, Quita, it's first important to remember that these are only minimum recommendations by the state. Recommendations, not requirements. The first is that restaurants should screen employees for any COVID symptoms, fever, cough, or headache, just to name a few. This is the interesting one. The state recommends that these restaurant workers stay 6 feet away from other people while working, but accomplishing that while serving food or drink just really doesn't seem feasible. The state is recommending, not requiring, everyone to wear a face mask.
By not going to bars, not going to restaurants, not going to theaters where there are a lot of people. It all just means physical separation so that you have a space between you and others who might actually be infected or infect you.
A virus that needed no visa to travel the world.
No one knows how many people or what proportion of people are infected in each population, because all the figures just depend on your test sensitivities and how many people you test. Professionally, we all have made a commitment that you're committed to do some job and you should do it. I think that's the most important reason.
Chow tonight says Illinois' crisis might even have been worse had it not been for early intervention by state and local governments.
Has anything changed since we last spoke in terms of the anatomy of the germ that you found?
Freddie's passed away. I was wondering if you've spoken to the families of anyone else who's lost loved ones to COVID-19, if there's any particular stories that have affected you.
Well, I have many people. I know many stories. I've spoken to 3, maybe I guess 4 families unrelated to me. I lost a very good friend. I also lost 3 other friends, 2 of whom I didn't know as well, but they were friends and people I did business with, and probably almost everybody in the room did. And it's a bad death. It's a bad thing. It grips onto some people. Now we found out that young people do extraordinarily well. That's why I think we can start thinking about schools. But of course, we're ending the school season, so it wouldn't be probably you wouldn't be back for too long. I notice where Purdue University, a great school in a great state, wants to open and have students come in. I think that's correct. Some colleges, I think I saw Harvard wants to have students come back in the fall. I would hope that they'd have students. I think that the whole concept of computer learning is wonderful, but it's not tele-learning. But it's not the same thing as being in a classroom in a great college or a college of any kind, college, university. There's nothing, you can't replace that. So hopefully they're going to be coming back. Young people do very well.
responsibility that they've never had before, and that is they have to be careful about how they choose their information diet. This is going to be a problem for the rest of our history, and it's a problem in particular for democracies. As journalists, we have to tell the truth, tell it again, and tell it again, because the American people have to have reliable information to make decisions about our country. There is no democracy without journalism. But if you see something on the internet that you wonder about or that outrages you, then do what has never been possible before. Look at a variety of other sources. Spend 10 minutes figuring out whether that story is true. I wonder what CNN is saying about that. I wonder what the Chicago Tribune is saying about that. And triangulate your information. Like I said, our viewers have never had to do that in history. And today, it's going to be mandatory.
How much do you think President Trump has contributed to this confusing climate?
Well, you know, I wonder whether this climate that we're in made Donald Trump possible rather than Donald Trump making this climate possible, if you see what I mean. You know, people have begun to worry. We live in a time today, Brian, as you well know, where what is true can be made to seem false, and what is false can be made to seem true. And that allows our national leadership to start saying things like fake news and the media is the enemy of the American people. We are the American people. Madison said that freedom of the press is the right that guarantees all the others. He knew that as long as we could say what we wanted to say, write what we wanted to write, read what we wanted to read, then all of our rights would be protected. It is just that important.